He told me, "Kiss me, he's watching," and I said, "Then let's make it real." The first time Elena told me to kiss her, it was not about love, it was about survival. Rain slammed against the hotel windows so hard the glass shook. The lobby doors rattled every time someone came in from the storm. I sat alone at a small two-seat table in the hotel bar, eating a lukewarm club sandwich while my laptop glowed in front of me. The light from the screen made my hands look pale and worn out. Soft jazz played low, the kind meant to fade into the background. Couples leaned toward each other, talking quietly, pretending they were not watching everyone else. This had been my life for months. Fly in, audit, leave, clean hotel room. Clean tie, clean exit, no photos, no drama, no one waiting on the other side of a flight. I told myself the empty chair across from me did not matter. I told myself I liked it this way. My phone buzzed once. Unknown number. One line of text. Conference room. Now. EV. I should have ignored it. My contract was clear. My work stayed inside numbers. I was paid to count, not to get involved. But my thumb moved before my brain caught up. I closed the laptop, pushed the plate away, and stood. The elevator smelled like expensive cologne and wet wool. When the doors opened on the penthouse floor, everything went quiet. Thick carpet swallowed sound. The air was cool and steady, like the building itself was trying to keep people calm. Elena Vance stood at the far end of the hallway. She was barefoot on the marble floor. Her satin gown clung to her like armor she had been wearing too long. Her dark hair was still pinned up, but loose strands framed her face, like the night had already taken swings at her. She did not look helpless. She looked trapped. "Caden," she said. Hearing my name in her voice felt like a decision she had already made. Behind her, I heard Julian Thorne's laugh drifting from the open doors of her suite. It was easy and relaxed, the laugh of a man who believed nothing could touch him. Elena's fingers were tight around a black leather portfolio. The leather creaked under the pressure. Something shifted in my chest, in the place I kept empty on purpose. I was not supposed to be in her world. I was a forensic auditor, the boring kind. I tracked money, followed patterns, caught lies that lived in numbers. I did not do parties. I did not do power games. I definitely did not do billionaires like Julian Thorne. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "I got a text," I replied. "From you." I didn't send it. She lifted her phone. The message on her screen matched mine exactly. Her wrist was tight, tendons sharp under her skin. "He did?" A door closed softly inside the suite. Footsteps moved toward us. Elena looked at me, and in one breath her expression changed. Fear snapped into focus. She stepped into my space, grabbed the front of my jacket and pulled me down. "Kiss me," she whispered. "He's watching, please." For half a second I didn't move, not because I didn't understand, because I understood too well. I lifted my hand to her jaw, slow enough to give her time to stop me. She didn't. Her fingers tightened in my lapel. "Then, let's make it convincing," I said. I kissed her. It wasn't soft. It wasn't careful. It was built to be seen. She met me halfway, matched my pressure, her body close enough that anyone watching would see exactly what she wanted them to see. Not fear, not escape. Choice. A shadow filled the doorway behind her. Julian Thorne stepped out and stopped, studying us like a scene meant for his entertainment. Tall, perfect suit. The kind of face magazines loved. His eyes were empty in the middle. "Well," he said, amused, "that's bold." Elena didn't pull away first. That told me everything about her. I eased back just enough to look at him, my hand still at her waist. Not for comfort. For message. His eyes dropped to my hand, then back to my face. "Mr. Cross," he said, "the hired help." "I count things," I said. "People, too, if they stand still." His smile twitched. He lifted his phone. On the screen was a paused video, dark, grainy. Intimate enough to destroy someone without showing much at all. Elena's breath caught once, then steadied. Her fingers brushed my wrist, grounding herself. "Tomorrow night," Julian said. "Auction, final signature. You do what I ask, or I give the press something to enjoy." I didn't argue. Men like him love that. I turned to Elena instead. "Do you want to leave?" I asked. She nodded once, sharp. "Certain." We didn't run. Running tells men like Julian they've won. We walked past him and into her penthouse like we belonged there. Inside, everything was perfect and cold. Art on the walls, candles that smelled like cedar, a bottle of whiskey that looked untouched. Elena locked the door, checked it twice, then rested her forehead against it for one quiet beat. When she turned back, she put herself together without a word, smoothed her dress, wiped lipstick from the corner of her mouth. Control rebuilt, piece by piece. "I called Marcus," I said. "He's on his way." She looked at me, surprised, then relieved. "I don't like surprises," I added. She nodded. "Neither do I." And standing there, in that silent room after the storm, I knew one thing for certain. That kiss had been the beginning of something neither of us could walk away from now. Marcus arrived 20 minutes later with a backpack, and the calm look he always wore when rich people were about to panic. He set the bag on the marble island like it weighed nothing and looked from Elena to me. "Tell me we're not doing anything that ends with handcuffs," he said. "Define we," I said. He snorted once. "Never mind, start talking." Elena didn't pace. She didn't wring her hands. She opened her leather portfolio and spread papers across the counter like she was laying out facts for a board vote. Shipping manifests, corporate filings, acquisition ledgers, numbers that almost worked if you didn't look too close. "The money is wrong," she said. "Not sloppy, designed wrong." Marcus leaned in, eyes moving fast. "Same shells," he said. "Same banks, same dates. And the storage facilities," she added. "The deed he wants me to sign gives him control." Marcus looked up. "Storage means inventory. And inventory means whatever he's hiding," I said. Elena's jaw tightened. "And when it breaks open, it lands on me." Silence settled for a moment, heavy but clean. This was the part where plans either collapsed or sharpened. "I can get the data," I said. Elena's eyes snapped to mine. "How?" "There's a VIP preview tomorrow night before the auction," I said. "He'll be there. He'll want you close. He likes showing off. If he brings his laptop or his drives, he brings his secrets with him." Marcus nodded slowly. "If we can copy his archive, I can map it. Names, paths, transfers." "But without proof," Elena said, "it's still just smoke." "We'll get proof," I said. I didn't know how yet. I just knew I wasn't leaving. She didn't thank me. She didn't ask me to stay. She just didn't open the door. That night, sleep didn't come easy. Elena fell asleep on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, her hair loose, the sharp edges gone. Without the armor, she looked real. Strong, still. Just human. I found her espresso machine in the kitchen. It looked expensive and unused. The first cup was terrible. The second was better. The third was right. She watched me from the couch. "You know how to use that?" "I read manuals," I said, handing her the cup. She took a sip, closed her eyes for half a second, then nodded. "Approved." The penthouse was too warm, the kind of heat that made you slow. I lowered the thermostat without thinking. "You hate heat," she said. "I hate feeling slowed down," I replied. She pulled the blanket tighter and made space on the couch. Not an invite spoken, just room. At 3 in the morning, she made chamomile tea and handed it to me without a word. At dawn, she opened a bottle of wine. "Coffee at 3, she said. "Wine at 5. "It's not 5, I said. "It's close enough," she replied, the corner of her mouth lifting. We sat in quiet that wasn't empty. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft but steady. "You didn't hesitate," she said. "About the kiss?" "About choosing a side." "I understood," I said. She nodded. "That matters." The next night, the VIP preview filled a restored brick warehouse downtown. High ceilings, exposed beams, lights aimed to flatter money. Elena wore a simple black dress, clean lines, no softness. I arrived later in a plain suit, easy to forget. Marcus stayed in the van outside, voice low in my ear. "Thorne's here, private office at the back." Julian moved through the room like he owned it. When he reached Elena, his hand brushed her elbow in a public claim. She shifted just enough to break it without making a scene. His eyes found me across the room. Recognition flickered. "Mr. Cross," he said later, smiling too wide, still counting. "Always," I replied. He leaned in. "Tomorrow you watch her sign, or you watch her burn." He walked away like it was a joke. I moved with the staff, through side halls and service doors, less wine, more carts. Julian's private office sat quiet at the back. On the desk was a thin laptop and a small external drive, its light glowing. "Eyes on a drive," I murmured. "Clone what you can," Marcus said. "Fast." I pulled a flat black device from my jacket and started the copy. The progress bar crept forward. Footsteps sounded in the hall. "Time," I whispered. "Cut it," Marcus said. "Get out." I unplugged fast and slipped the device away just as Julian walked in, laughing into his phone. He dropped into his chair and tapped his keyboard. "What do you mean it won't play?" he snapped. The drive light flickered wrong. I slipped out unseen. Back in the van, Marcus scanned the data. "Partial archive," he said. "Encrypted vault. We need the hardware key." "The black one on his ring," I said. "And the video?" Elena asked. Marcus smiled thin. "Looks damaged." Silence, then her breath eased. "Tomorrow night," she said. "He'll bring the key." "And we'll be ready," I replied. The plan was set. None of us said what it would cost if it failed. The night of the auction felt like a performance from the moment I walked in. The hall was dressed in brick and light, everything polished to look historic and important. Spotlights cut clean lines across paintings and sculptures, while people in expensive clothes held thin glasses and talked too loudly about legacy. Staff moved quietly along the edges, careful not to touch anything that could shatter or cost more than a house. Julian stood near the stage where the light hit him best. He liked being seen. Elena stood beside him. She wore a pale dress this time, simple and controlled, nothing soft or distracting. From a distance, she looked untouchable. I knew better. I watched the way her shoulders held tension and the way her breath stayed measured. She wasn't afraid. She was focused. I stayed in the crowd, close enough to move fast, far enough to disappear. Marcus's voice came through my ear, steady and low. "I've got the archive ready," he said. "The second we get the key, I try the vault." Julian stepped to the microphone, smiling wide for the cameras. "Tonight," he said, "we honor the past and sign the future." He gestured to the podium where the deed sat under a small light. Then he did exactly what proud men always do. He took his key ring from his pocket and set it beside the document. Metal clinked against wood. Car key. Fob. And the one I needed. Small. Matte black. No bigger than my thumb. My heart jumped once, then settled. Elena's eyes flicked down, then found mine in the crowd. One look was enough. "Now." Julian leaned toward her, voice low into the mic. "Sign, Elena. Let's give them a show." Quote. She lifted the pen and let the room feel the pause. She smiled at him and leaned closer, like she was about to whisper something private. I moved with the staff along the side of the stage. No rush, no panic. I reached the podium from the side, lifted my hand like I was fixing the fabric. My fingers closed around the keyring. Cool metal, warm USB. I didn't yank. I didn't hurry. I let my hand fall and walked away like nothing had happened. "I have it," I said. "Get out," Marcus replied. I slipped through a side door into the night. The van door was open. Marcus held out his hand. I dropped the keyring into his palm. He unclipped the black USB and plugged it into his laptop. The encrypted vault blinked on screen. Waiting. The light on the key flashed once. Folders opened. Marcus went still. Then his jaw tightened. "We've got him." "What do you see?" I asked. "Forged signatures, storage transfers, shell companies," he said, "and Elena's name all over it. Fake, sloppy enough to pass in public, clean enough to destroy her." I clenched my fist. He was going to bury her. Quote, "Not anymore," Elena said over the line. Her voice was calm, finished. She called Agent Rivera while Marcus built the chain. Files copied. Timestamps locked. "How long?" I asked. "They're close," Elena said. I went back inside. The room felt different. People sensed it before they understood it. Julian stood at the podium, smiling too hard. He tapped his phone. Nothing happened. He tapped again. Still nothing. A ripple moved through the crowd. Whispers. Phones checked. Confusion. "I'm done letting you threaten me," Elena said into the mic. The doors opened. Agents walked in. Badges visible. Calm and certain. Julian's smile broke. He lunged. I stepped in front of him, caught his wrist and turned it. His phone hit the floor. Agents grabbed him. Cuffs clicked. The sound was final. When they took him away, the room exhaled. Elena ended the auction with steady words and walked off the stage without looking back. In the private lounge, the world went quiet. She sat on the couch, back straight, breathing slow. I poured water and set it in front of her. "The video," she said. "Broken," I replied. Her shoulders lowered just a little. "And us?" she asked softly. I didn't answer right away. For the first time in years, I didn't want to leave. And that scared me more than anything Julian had ever threatened. 3 days later, the boardroom felt colder than the penthouse ever had. Elena stood at the head of the long table, hands resting lightly on a stack of certified documents. Sunlight cut through the tall windows, sharp and unforgiving. Every seat was filled. Faces I had seen smile at fundraisers now looked tight and careful. Julian was not in the building. He was in federal custody, being processed. The news had been running non-stop. The same outlets that once praised him now spoke his name with distance, like they had never trusted him at all. One of the directors cleared his throat and tapped a page with a pen. "These documents show your signature," he said, like the words alone carried weight. Elena didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "They show copied digital signatures," she replied, "not originals." She slid another folder across the table. Login logs, timestamps, Agent Rivera's report. The room went still as pages were turned and eyes moved faster. "I have already given copies to federal authorities," she added. That was the moment everything shifted. People who live on power can smell danger fast. The questions stopped. The tone changed. The vote came quickly after that. She stayed. Julian was out. The gallery lived. Later that night, the penthouse felt different. Quieter. Not staged. No armor. The heels were gone. The lights were low. The city outside looked less like a threat and more like a view. I stood at the espresso machine again. This time I got it right on the first try. "Habit, you're still here," Elena said, leaning against the counter, barefoot, hair loose. "I changed my flight," I said. "Didn't get on the plane." She let out a small sound, half disbelief, half relief. I handed her a cup. She wrapped both hands around it, warming her fingers. I lowered the thermostat 1 degree without thinking. She noticed. She always did. We opened a bottle of wine. Not to celebrate. To breathe. To choices, she said, lifting her glass. To consequences, I replied. We drank. Quiet settled between us, not heavy, not awkward, just honest. "You lived in a void," she said after a moment. "I could see it." "I did," I said. "It was easier." She stepped closer, slow, giving me space to move away. I didn't. Her hand found mine, fingers sliding in like they had always known the shape. The space between us closed naturally, no rush, no fear. "This isn't about survival anymore," she said softly. I nodded. "I know." Her forehead rested briefly against my chest. I felt her breathe, steady and real. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like leaving was the smart choice. I felt like staying was. The days after the board vote moved slower than I expected, not because nothing was happening, but because everything was finally settling. Calls came in waves. Lawyers, reporters, staff meetings behind closed doors. Elena handled all of it with the same steady control I had seen from the start. She never rushed. She never over-explained. She spoke when it mattered and stayed quiet when silence worked better. I watched her from the edges at first. Old habits die hard. I was used to standing back, fixing problems without becoming one. But this time she kept pulling me closer without asking. A look across a room. A quiet question meant only for me. Coffee placed beside my laptop before I realized I needed it. One afternoon, she found me in the guest room packing my bag. Not leaving. Just organizing. Something to do with my hands. "You always pack like you're about to disappear," she said. I didn't deny it. "I like knowing I can." She leaned against the doorframe. "And do you want to?" I zipped the bag and set it aside. No. The word felt solid when I said it. Not heavy, not forced. That night, the penthouse was quiet in a way it hadn't been before. No phones buzzing, no doors opening. Just city lights and the low hum of the building. We cooked together. Simple food. Nothing impressive. She moved easily in the kitchen now, barefoot, sleeves rolled up, hair loose. This wasn't the woman from the hallway asking me to kiss her because someone was watching. This was the woman who had survived and chosen to stay standing. After dinner, we sat on the couch, close but not touching. The space between us felt deliberate, respectful. "You know," she said, "I don't need to be rescued." "I know," I replied. "That's not why I stayed." She turned toward me then, really looked at me. "Why did you?" I took a breath, because when I thought about leaving, it felt like going back to being empty on purpose. She didn't smile. She didn't soften. She just nodded like I had said something true. Her hand found mine again. This time there was no hesitation. No performance. No audience. She leaned in first. The kiss was different from the one in the hallway. Slower. Quieter. Built on choice instead of urgency. Her hand rested at the back of my neck. Warm and steady. I felt the tension I'd been carrying for years loosen its grip. When we pulled back, she rested her forehead against mine. "This is real," she said. "I know," I answered. Later, as the city dimmed outside the windows, she fell asleep against my shoulder. I stayed awake longer than usual, listening to her breathe, feeling the weight of another person trusting me enough to rest. For the first time, the idea of tomorrow didn't feel like an exit plan. It felt like something worth staying for. Morning came in quietly. No alarms. No urgent calls. Just pale lights slipping through the windows, and the city waking up without asking anything from us yet. Elena stirred first, slow and careful, like she was checking whether the calm was real. "You're still here," she said softly. I opened my eyes. I didn't change my mind. She smiled then, not the controlled one she used in meetings. A small, honest smile meant only for me. Later that day, reality knocked again. Statements had to be approved. Legal teams needed answers. The gallery staff waited for direction. Elena stepped back into her role without hesitation. I watched her move through the day with confidence that no longer felt borrowed or defensive. This time, it was hers. In the afternoon, she found me standing by the window, phone in my hand. "Work?" she asked. "A flight reminder," I said. "The one I canceled." She came to stand beside me. "Do you regret it?" Quote, "I thought about hotel rooms that all looked the same, about empty chairs, about living light enough to leave without a trace." "No," I said. "For the first time, no." That night, we walked through the gallery after hours. The lights were dim. The art felt different without an audience. Quiet, honest. "They'll try again," she said. "People always do." "I know," I replied, "but not the same way." She stopped walking and turned to me. "You could still leave," she said. "I won't pretend this is easy." I met her gaze. "I'm not staying because it's easy." She reached for my hand. No urgency, no test, just certainty. We stood there between pieces of history and proof of survival. Two people who had crossed a line together and chosen not to step back. That night, back in the penthouse, the city felt smaller somehow. Less threatening. More like a place you could belong. As she rested her head against my chest, I understood something I had avoided for years. Love didn't arrive loudly. It arrived when I stopped running. And for the first time, I stayed.